what can we do to spruce up that whole shotgun recipe? Make it a little bit more exciting, add a little bit of punch, a little bit of pizzazz, and all of that good stuff. Oh, I know, let's mount a glaive on top of it. No, really, that's what they did. And today, my friends, we're going to be diving deeper into this Mastery Rank 8 primary weapon, the Cedo. I got a cheap build, something affordable that most tenors should be able to build, but of course we also got a more souped up setup with prime mods. Riven disposition currently set at 0.5, so getting a Riven for this one, for the time being, is not really worth it. But do keep in mind that my builds and guides usually take a new player friendly approach. I'm gonna be taking my time and explaining whatever I feel is necessary for newer players. So in case you're a vet and you already know most of this stuff, please, bear with me. As always, my name is Leyzar, and this is the Cedo. Let's begin by checking out how the weapon handles without any mods equipped. And for that, just a couple of free shots. The Cedo is a shotgun with 2 fire modes, my friends. In primary fire mode, this one is pretty simple, a automatic shotgun. Pretty similar to something like the Boar Prime, if you're familiar with that one. And actually the spread for an automatic shotgun is actually quite nice. This is 15 meters till, or 15 meters till the target. And this would be full rate of fire. Unmodded. Again, the accuracy from my point of view for a shotgun is absolutely fantastic. And that's the simple part to the weapon. And you also might be curious, this is Lavos' trademark weapon, right? What's the benefit if you use it with Lavos? Shotgun ammo mutation, which is not needed, then of course you can always replace it with pads, so there you go. The secondary fire mode on this weapon is when things kind of get interesting. You see that on the top of the weapon, that disc thing? That's actually a glaive. Yeah, you fire it with your secondary fire, and after about 5 seconds, it's gonna come back to you. Unless it ricochets, and then it's gonna take a couple of more seconds. Now, this glaive basically acts like a glaive. It's gonna ricochet around, it's gonna lock onto targets, like so, you saw that? All the way there. And it's gonna apply a whole lot of status effects to your targets. Here's the weird part, though. The weapon sometimes does that. It just completely ignored everything. It bounced away like that. I don't know why it does that. Sometimes that happens, and sometimes it actually acts the way it's supposed to and hit the targets. Look, it locks onto targets. Look at that. And then it bounces away. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know why it does that. But more often than not, just simply aim not necessarily directly at your targets, but in the general vicinity, and you're gonna get the full effect. Speaking about the full effect, take a look at all those status effects. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 types. There was like everything there. Everything on elemental plus slash, that is. So you got your heat, you got electricity, you got toxin, you got blast. You don't have corrosive though, they never see corrosive. Electricity, you saw that? Which is weird because the weapon doesn't really have all those elements on it. And you'll see why this is interesting just a tad later. The weapon on it has blast, slash, puncture, stuff like that. Not electricity, not toxin, not heat, not all these glorious status effects. And it is important because the primary fire of the weapon gets more damage the more status effects afflicting your target. So basically kind of like condition overload works. Now don't misunderstand, it's not about the number of procs, it's the types, right? So if you get all the types of procs, that's gonna be maximum. How much extra damage, however? Well, nobody really says, but from my calculation, it seems to be around 60%. I might be wrong, please don't shoot me. And of course, damage mods, pure damage mods like, well, percentage-based damage mods, like Point Blank, Vicious Spread will be affecting this as well. So you see how getting all these status effects on the target is fantastic for something like Condition Overload or the actual weapon, right? But the thing is, those status effects, at least part of them, appear to be a visual glitch because you don't get the humph that you should be getting from the weapon. Which is weird. Again, this is a brand new weapon, it just came out a couple of days ago, and I'm assuming it might be a little bit bugged, so bear that one in mind. Was that everything I wanted to say? Yes, I think that... Oh yeah, the glaive takes a while to come back to you. Okay, so it's gonna take a while. You can add on some fire rate, but it won't really help you all that much. You can add some projectile flight speed, and it will help you. The glaive will be moving faster, but it still stays out quite a while before it comes back to you. And of course, you cannot spam it because of this. Now let's have a closer look at stats to see exactly what we're dealing with. Mod capacity 60 out of 60, and if your Cedo comes with only 30 out of 30 jump into actions, plug in that Auto King Catalyst, double that mod capacity, and yes, my friends, on this weapon, at least in its current state, it's 100% worth it. You can grind one from Nightwave, you can get a blueprint from the Daily Sortie, you can pay 20 plat to have one installed, and some events in Warframe also feature an Auto King Catalyst as a possible or guaranteed reward. My weapon has been format 3 times. That's it. 3 times only. Because one of the beauties of this weapon, it comes with 2 default V polarities or Madrai, also known as the one that we use the most. So you can just format one more time. Format baby one more time. Anyway, that's not important. What is important? The weapon excellence mod slot. Should you unlock it? Well, not really. I mean, fatal acceleration does prove a benefit. The glaive does travel faster. But you can leave this one unlocked. It costs 20 plat to unlock. Or maybe you can farm the resources to make the adapter. The accuracy is gonna be 20, you saw that. Fantastic for a shotgun, honestly, it's really, really nice. Critical chance, critical damage on primary fire, 20% with 2.4x, which, that's not bad. Definitely for a shotgun is not bad. The problem with crit and shotguns is this thing. Blunderbuss. Only 9%. Horrible! Horrible mama! Why no prime blunderbuss? They don't want to give it to us, apparently. But it would be too overpowered, yeah. Laser sight instead, my friends. Okay, so you just use laser sight with 120% crit chance. I know it's a bit more cumbersome, and if you don't feel comfortable playing with it, just use blunderbuss, and you always have the option to use both if you want to. 2.4x critical multiplier, that's fantastic, especially considering we do have Prime Ravage with 110% critical damage. The problem with this one is that the normal version, Ravage, is really low for a golden mod, only 60% critical damage. Yes, yes, good. Fall off 26 to 52. Oh, here's the benefit to the weapon excellence mod slot that I forgot. Fatal acceleration will also increase the fall off. You see? So there's that. Fire rate of 3.8. To be honest, I feel that this weapon needs fire rate like it needs air. Just like on the Boar Prime, for example. But that one also needs some reload speed. The reload speed on this one is 2.2. Not fantastic. Not ideal, but the magazine is 40, which is alright. Multi-shot of 6 by default, that's 6 little pellets, noise alarming. Default punch through of 0.8 meters, which is nice, and a status per projectile of 0.3. In primary fire mode, 0.3 is garbage, okay? But you're gonna be applying your statuses using that wonderful, wonderful glaive. Now the damage, as you can see, is all puncture, baby, all puncture. And puncture will be dealing extra damage to heavily armored targets. And of course, it's only 30, but it's times 6, so it's 180 because, 6 pellets by default. Semi-automatic is the secondary fire mode. The accuracy is 80. I don't know how they calculate with this. I don't know why the glaive acts so weird, but again, just aim in the general vicinity of your targets like you would with the Arca Plasma. Critical chance is garbage, critical multiplier is garbage. So you see, but the status chance, haha, mama, 50%. And none of those wonderful elements that you saw the weapon proc are here. Where's the heat? Where's the electricity? Where's the toxin? It's not here, but it still procs some for some bloody reason. Okay, it might be a visual thing. Then again, the weapon does get extra damage from using the primary shot on the targets, but not as much as it should, considering all the procs. Again, it's a little bit weak. What else I was saying? Yes, so essentially the way you play with this one, you apply procs with your secondary fire, the glaive, and then you either melee condition overload down, or you use your primary fire from the weapon to absolutely annihilate your targets. Now the damage is slash, 100% slash, my friends, and the range of the explosion, when the glaive actually makes contact with an enemy, you saw there, it doesn't actually explode if it makes contact with a surface, it just bounces off for the most part, is 6 meters, which is fantastic. And the fall off is nothing, no fall off whatsoever, which again is fantastic, and it's blast damage, right? So what gives? Slash is for the glaive physically making contact with a target, right? And the explosion deals blast damage. So there you go. Now let's talk about a build. Normally this is when I snap my fingers and say, hey, build it like this, right? Just to spare you all the hassle. But the problem with this one is that you can build it in several different ways. And I want to showcase what works how, just to make sure you understand why we get to the build that we get, alright? Let me know in the comment section down below if you prefer this approach a bit better. So, Fatal Acceleration in the Excellence slot and Point Blank in Hell's Chamber. No Prime mods initially, we're gonna switch to Prime mods just a tad later. Now, the first thought would be, hey listen, this was my first thought. If the weapon applies that many status effects without any status chance, without any status mods at all, why don't I max out that mechanic with 60% extra damage on per status effect? And just raw damage and raw crit chance, right? Not a bad idea. So let's do that. We're gonna go crit chance again, laser sight from my humble point of view over blunderbuss. Critical damage is gonna be ravage normal. Other than this, you can go for more damage out of the weapon. Blaze, fantastic mod. 60% damage, 60% heat, and of course you can also use vicious spread. Now it's gonna kind of ruin a little bit of that accuracy, but again, for a shotgun, this is still gonna be pretty darn good. If you guys remember, I told you this weapon needs fire rate like it needs air. It just makes the weapon a whole lot more fun to play with it. But of course, fun is subjective, but I would still go with shotgun in your spaz. And the last lot, more multi, always. This is no status, right? This is a no status approach, because if you're getting all the bonus damage from those, from that secondary fire, okay, from that glaive, then you don't really need more than that, do you? But before we test, make sure Mirage doesn't have anything whatsoever. Alright, so we're gonna spawn in the corrupted heavy goons, level 120. I'm just gonna smack them with my glaive. Like so, look at all the status effect, look at all, and then go for hit. Nah. Not as impressive as I want the weapon to perform. It's really not all that fantastic, as you can see. The glaive running around, doing more statuses, more explosion, fantastic. Careful with the punch through on this weapon, because the glaive sometimes goes through targets or through the ground, and then you're not gonna get that boom boom effect. So no punch through my face. This is what I would like to call weak performance. So forgetting about status effect, right, and just going for raw damage and crit chance wasn't really all that fantastic. You might say, hey, that wasn't like a horrible performance, but the weapon can perform a whole lot better than that. So what we're gonna be doing next is doing the exact opposite. Why don't we go for no critical chance whatsoever, right? And just go for full status on the weapon. So that's what we're gonna be doing. More status, mama. Yes, what status should we apply, son? Well, considering we got some slack, we should go viral. Definitely. Viral is king. Got mod for viral every single bloody freaking time. So we're gonna go to 60-60 mods for viral. Then we're gonna increase the status chance of the weapon even further with something like shotgun savvy, like so. Now we're gonna keep on blaze, but what we're gonna be doing is also adding a third 60-60 mod in the form of scattering inferno. So now we got 3 60-60 mods on the weapon. Now, while my critical chance and critical damage have all but evaporated, I still got my status, mama. Check it out, my status so big. 185%. And of course, we're going to be testing out the weapon like so. Now, before you see the actual performance of the weapon, I'm just gonna hit it with a couple of glaives. Take a look at that. Now, the glaives right now are bouncing between targets, applying explosion with each bounce, and applying a whole lot of status effects. Take a look at this. That is just insane. That guy has 22 heats. That guy has 20 heats. That guy has 26 heats, and so on and so forth. So actually, a build like this could amplify your melee condition overload builds quite nicely. If you want to use like a primary weapon, right, to get your condition overload on. But of course, it also helps out the weapon a whole lot. This is a more powerful build than before. As you can see, the weapon does deal a whole lot more damage like so. It's simply better. Now, one thing that I do want to showcase, watch these 3 targets. I think it's really cool to show the glaive bouncing between targets. Look at that. Boom, 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 boom. It bounces multiple times. This is why it applies this many status effects. And with each bounce, it blows up, right? So it's gonna do really, really well in a crowd. Something like this. But when it comes to the actual weapon build, getting a bit more on topic, the quote-unquote best idea would still be a compromise between the two. I would still not go full status unless you guys want to make your condition overload melee do a bit more. For that, let's be honest, you have secondary weapons like the Sakti Prime or whatever else you guys choose to use. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to keep shotgun spaz. I really need to keep this one for usability. I recommend you at least give it a spin. If you want more fire rate than this, one mod that I did forget to mention is going to be repeater clip. It does offer more fire rate, but it's on reload. It's a bit of a give and take. Now, we're going to renounce shotgun savvy. We're going to renounce scattering inferno, and we're also going to be renouncing blaze. We're going to go back to critical chance and critical damage, like so, with laser sight again. And critical damage, what is the ravage? Here's ravage. Now the last one, the last mod should be fairly obvious. If you're going for crit on a primary weapon, you gotta moo-moo. And you're gonna say, hey, it's too low. Critical chance is too low, man. With laser sight up, you're gonna go to critical chance 42, 43%, something around those lines. But it's gonna be enough, and I'll show you exactly how much slash you're gonna be getting on the corrupted heavy goons, level 120. Initially, I'm not gonna be using the glaives just so you can see what the primary fire can do without any prep, right? Go for head. Look at that. 18 slashes, 2 punctures. Really quick. So again, you can apply a whole lot of slash. The problem is you can't really apply with your primary fire. You can't apply a lot of status effects. If I would get 1-2 vitals on this target would bloody blow up. It's still gonna die. Don't get me wrong, from 35 slashes or 25, 30 slashes. But look at that, a vital proc, 3 vital procs, and the target gets annihilated. Problem being, primary fire mode has that very low status chance. And the combination will be like so. Kaboom. And then just go for it. Look at that. It makes targets disappear. So for the weapon, this would be the optimal build. Something along these lines. Once again, my friends, if I may offer a slight suggestion, don't copy my builds necessarily word for word or mod for mod. Tune them to your visual specifications, right? You might like things differently. I like fire rate on my weapon because it just feels a bit better to me. Okay, a lot better to me. But you might not like it, so instead of fire rate, you can go with more multi-shot, vigilante armaments. What if I'm going down to Deimos? What am I gonna do with that vital? Enemies are immune to vital. Well, it's simple. Just simply swap out the 60-60 vital mods for the 60-60 corrosive mods. Easy mode gameplay every single day. Yes? Yes, of course. And of course, prime mods. Speaking about quote-unquote end builds. This would be with prime mods, essentially the same build, but prime point blank and prime ravage. And you might say, what about Rivens? Well, this is a tired old conversation. Disposition for new weapons in Warframe is 0.5, right? That's 1 little ball out of 5 little balls. Unfortunately, Rivens are simply not all that powerful right now. They're extremely expensive, and in order for you to get one which would actually prove a benefit on the weapon would mean that you either got really lucky with your roll or you were willing to spend a whole lot of plat. So I can't possibly recommend a Riven for Dispo 1 weapons. But if you really must have one, go for multi-shot above everything else, and then I would go damage, maybe even a touch of crit chance. Harmless negative, of course. And as before, prime mods, yes, they do make a difference. If you get a vital proc with your primary, look, so this target is like almost full, 99%. Just a couple of shots, 4 slashes. If I get a vital proc, it's just gonna bloody explode. But if you don't get one, you're gonna have to shoot it a while. There you go, that's the vital procs right there. From my humble point of view, the weapon is extremely interesting, it's different. I'm not entirely sure if it's bugged or not. That's gonna be for digital extremes to decide that if it functions correctly or not, but I am enjoying the weapon. I had a whole lot of fun. I think it's more than enough powerful. And you know what? It's a little bit different than what we usually get. Somebody had the awesome idea to mount a glaive on a shotgun. How could you not like that? Go buy it, build it, farm it. Enjoy the weapon, my friends. But if you want to see a real powerful showcase, it's time to bump up everything with Warframe buffs. And for that, we're not going to be using Harrow, we're going to be using Lady Mirage Prime. As showcased before, Mirage does offer a larger benefit than Harrow. Corrosive projection against heavily armored targets. You surprised? You really shouldn't be. It's the quote-unquote meta. When it comes to arcanes, you can use Arcane Rage. Now, there's a little bit of fire rate to be had if you want to with Arcane Tempo for shotguns, right? 90% fire rate, 15% chance, and it's on critical hit, so you're going to be getting plenty of those. Not an issue. You can go with Arcane Tempo as well. And if you go with Tempo, you can remove shotgun spats from your build and use something like more multi-shot, for example. It is an option, but I would recommend you go Classic, Rage, and Avenger. Avenger will grant you 45% critical chance for 12 seconds. It's a non-damaged effect to 21% chance. Bonus additive after, so it simply stacks on top of what you already have. It doesn't care about the base critical chance of the weapon. Yes, yes, fantastic. It also applies to primary, secondary, and to your melee as well. Speaking of crit, make sure you have a sentinel. Any sentinel you want, my friends. For example, carrier, because let's say you're worried about ammo, but to be honest, I never really had ammo issues. On the other hand, I don't think I would notice if I do, because I kind of drop a pad when I'm out of ammo, out of reflex at this point, so there's that. On that Sentinel's weapon, make sure you have all the Vigilante mods, offense, supplies, fervor, and armaments. You're gonna get 20% chance to enhance critical hits from primary weapons. Even if your little Sentinel dies and never comes back to life, you will retain that bonus. bump up the level to 150, unpause the eye so they can hit me and I can get my buffs. Activate Mirage's Empower and her third ability for an absolutely sky-high damage increase. And one more time, Empower! And the ever so lovely Colorlines. And now, my friends, you're gonna see what the weapon can actually. That was just primary, okay? That was now you see him, now you don't, with primary alone. No prep whatsoever from the secondary fire. No prep whatsoever from that fantastic glaive, which, let's be honest, that's the key feature of the weapon at the end of the day. Right, here's the glaive. That's just glaive damage. Look at that. Absolutely insane, man. Just glaive damage alone, which, look. I don't even have to hit him. If I hit him with my primary fire, they just get dissolved. It's insane, really. But this is more a credit to Mirage than the actual weapon, so let's get that out of the way. And again, the optimal way of playing with a weapon should be fairly obvious by now. Yeah, hit how much our secondary fire with the glaive, and then you absolutely clear house, like so. You just aim in that general direction and keep your trigger finger pressed down. My friends, that's pretty much it for the Cedo. I love this weapon. I don't know what it is about. Is it the design? Is it the fact that they just smacked the glaive on top of it? Is it the combo? I'm not sure what it is. But I just love it and I highly recommend it. As always, my name is Lazar. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the content. And if you got any sorts of feedback for me, by all means, my friends, drop it in the comment section down below. Also in the comment section down below if you guys want to suggest any particular type of content. Now, in all honesty, I can't exactly promise you that, listen, it'll be done by next time or even within a week, because these things kind of tend to take a little while to make, but I can promise you that I will be reading for each and every comment. You can also find me on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, all the usual places. Until next time, my friends, bye-bye.